guys, Jay Siren here. Welcome to the 5th episode of Sizzlevision. This month, I traveled to Santa Cruz, California to visit a diverse and sizzling troupe of performers called Sin Sisters Burlesque. Let's check out my chat with Cyanide Sin, Sin Sisters co-producer, and find out what she feels brings the sizzle to their sinful recipe for success in Santa Cruz. I'm standing here with Cyanide Sin, co-producer of Sin Sisters Burlesque, which for almost a decade now has been existing in Santa Cruz in the Bay Area, and tonight I'm here at the Catalyst to celebrate your 3-year anniversary of your monthly event. Yeah, it's very exciting.
It is exciting.
I know, and I have a bunch of questions for you, but I think we should start with, as a producer and a performer, what is a typical show day like for you? What goes down on the day of a show?
It's a bit chaos, you know. Generally, I wake up really early just to make sure I'm checking emails and responding to a million texts and making sure everybody's going to be here on time. And that continues all day long, you know. And then it's regular show stuff. Running last minute errands, making sure my bag is packed, trying to drink as much coffee as I possibly can. And then we head over here at 6 to do setup. Show starts at 9. So we're here for 3 hours before the show starts.
So you're doing the work all day so you can have the fun all night.
All
that
night.
Makes perfect sense to me.
That's right.
And you guys here pack the room every single month. It's kind of amazing the audience identity, brand identity that you've built up here in town.
We're really lucky because we're one of the few areas in the Bay Area where we are the only burlesque show happening. And so we don't have the competition that people in Oakland or San Francisco have. People know that if they want to see a burlesque show, they're going to have to be here the second Saturday every month.
Although I'd say, even if there was a more robust community here, I think you guys would still be packing the house.
We definitely
you put on quite a sizzling show, that's true. And I think a perfect tale that you know is a perfect example of that is there is a big, brilliant, beautiful picture of your ass.
It's amazing.
Right next to the stage. You want to tell us where that came from? A little bit about that?
These very lovely friends who travel all over the world, and they asked us to send them high-res images. We had no idea what they were for, but they told us that they were going to surprise us with a gift. I assumed that it was going to be some beautiful framed art, and then I got tagged in a post on Facebook of them standing in the middle of the airport where they were forced to unroll these giant images of us to make sure they weren't hiding anything in these giant tubes. And there were people, tons of people, dozens of people standing around staring at my ass in the middle of the airport in Thailand. It was pretty amazing.
You're internationally famous. You didn't even know it.
That's the best present ever. That really is the best present you can get, is a giant picture of your ass.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
and
it's wonderful.
You know, I've attended this event before. I know the vibe is always great. The crowd is super into the performance, and that kind of brings me to the question: how did you get into performing in this whole wonderful burlesque world?
So, about 8 years ago, my sister started performing with Hubba Hubba Review.
Balla Fire.
Who is my actual sister. And she called me and said she wasn't really sure. She had gotten herself into some kind of crazy mess and she wasn't sure what to do. And I said, what did you do? And she said, I decided that I was going to say yes to do a camp themed show at Hubba Hubba Review, Camp Hubba Waffa, which they do every year. And she was like, I have no idea what to do. Like, I don't know. And so I thought about it for a few hours and I called her at 4 in the morning and I said, I know the perfect thing. Every great horror film starts at a camp. And she said, perfect, you're going to be my victim. This time I had been traveling. I was living up near Sacramento in Chico, and I was traveling down every month to see Hubba with her. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. That's not me. That's you. And so she drugged me into it. And my very first experience performing was a duet with Balla Fire on the big stage at the DNA. The room was packed, and I was a nervous wreck, and it was wonderful, and I've been doing it ever since.
And yes, here we are, almost 6 years later, celebrating the 3-year anniversary of your monthly show. So tell me a little bit about Sin Sisters Burlesque. I know we hear the band sound checking, everything's about to start moving, but how many of you are there, and what is that sisterhood like? Because I know you all love each other very much.
We do.
Yeah.
What we've done is we've tried to set up an old school, like an event. You know, when people used to go to the theaters, they would dress up and it was an event, and people don't do that anymore. And so we've tried to create this atmosphere that's very classy and elegant and seating, and and snacks, and we have an usher that brings people drinks, and so we've created this event and this experience that people don't get to do anymore. So we start with a 30-minute band set. We book bands all over the Bay Area that come in and do a 30-minute set to open our show. We have 7 sisters. We have gone in and out. There have been a few that have left and a few that have come in, but we create this atmosphere that's, you get a little bit of everything. You're going to get classic burlesque, you're going to get comedy, you're going to get drag, you're going to get faux drag, you're going to get a little bit of everything, and we really love that experience of having people enjoy all the different types of burlesque that you can experience in one night, especially when a lot of these people, this is all they're ever going to see.
It's true. In a community like this, I think including that diversity in your showcase is wonderful. And let's talk about your set formula for a second. How do you run this show? You have a couple of sets going on. You said the doors open at 9. The
doors open at 9. Band goes on at 9:30. They play a 30-minute set. Burlesque starts 15 minutes after that. We do 2 full sets. Each of the 7 sisters do 1 number each, or 2 numbers, 1 in each set. And we also have 1 guest that comes in that we choose from all over. We've had some amazing guest performers, Lucy Flawless and Coco Electric, and the Dolls of Doom have all shared our stage with us, which is incredible. But we also are blessed to know amazing talent like you and so many of the other Bay Area burlesque performers that will come in and do our show. So we have 1 guest that comes in every month. Sometimes we're lucky to get 2 if a sister can't make the show, but we like all the sisters to be here.
And tonight your special guest is?
Tonight we have Pearly Gates.
That's exciting.
Who I love, and she's doing the number that she did last night at Hubba.
We're in for a treat then. That's right. Yeah. Well, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you. I look forward to talking to a few of your sisters before this episode is over. And let's just end with a little sizzle. How about it? Sizzle.
Playing the dual role of producer and performer can be both challenging and rewarding. It takes a certain type of personality to manage the balance, and Sin certainly has it down pat. I think it's time to take a look at what went down during the first set of the Sin Sisters' sizzling show that night. Sin, I had the chance to sit down with her co-producing counterpart, Miss Balla Fire. With almost a decade of experience, both on stage and behind the curtain, Balla afforded us her own perspective on managing the troupe and what it takes to get on stage and bear it all.
I'm standing here with with Balla, co-producer of Sin Sisters Burlesque. We just caught up with your sister, Cyanide Sin. I had a lovely conversation, and I think I'd like to pick up with you kind of where I left off with her. You know, I'm here for your 3-year anniversary show. That's very exciting.
Amazing.
And we talked about how loyal and amazing your audience is, and a little bit about the sisterhood that you guys share. Can you talk to me a little bit more about the experience of being a Sin sister, and you know, what your rehearsal schedule is like, what it takes to bring together a show like this and achieve the kind of camaraderie it takes to put on such a sizzling event together?
Absolutely. We are a group of 7 regular performers, and you know, our rehearsal schedule is our own. What we bring to the stage is what we bring to the stage. I've brought in a group of performers that I know and love and trust, and I believe that what they're going to bring is their best effort and their own art. And so they bring what they bring, and I love it. Santa Cruz is a super gracious audience. We're basically the only gig in town. There are a couple of other smaller burlesque shows that are infrequent, but Santa Cruz has just shown up and loved this from the beginning. We were just like, we're going to do this until the wheels fall off, and here we are 3 years later setting up the room.
So exciting. And you guys are officially inducting a brand new Sin sister tonight.
We are, Xandora Lavey.
Very exciting. We love her.
Recently, one of our sisters is in school and off to fill her big brain with bigger things, and so she's gone to Washington, and so in her place, we've moved Xandora in, and Xandora is an incredible, sexy, frightening hula hoop striptease dancer.
Yes, she is, and I bet we're going to see a whole bunch of her tonight. I'm very excited for the show. Now, you start off with a band. You've got your whole crowd here supporting you. What is your favorite kind of thing to bring to the stage? I know you are a very sensual performer and very mesmerizing to watch, but what is it that drives you to create the acts that you do and kind of bring that emotion into the crowd?
My friend Bobby Barnaby said he breaks down all the different kinds of burlesque performances that there are, and he refers to me as a naked dancer. So that's what I do. I get naked. And I think my inspiration mostly comes from my own personal experience, from the music that I love. I'll hear something and I'll think, that makes me want to take my clothes off because it speaks to me in some way. And so that's what I do. And when I walk out, I want to look at everyone in the audience and I want to take it in. And I think what I do is a little bit fierce because I want to, I don't know, it's a scary, maybe a little bit uncomfortable thing to get out there and be vulnerable in front of people that way. And so if I'm going to be a little bit uncomfortable, so are they.
Fair enough. Now, you've been a performer for almost a decade in the Bay Area, and in that time, I'm sure you've seen a bunch of changes in the scene and atmosphere, and I'm sure your own experience has brought on a lot of perspective in that regard.
Yeah.
Is there any advice that you would give to people aspiring to get on the stage or just hone their craft and be the best burlesquers they can be?
Show up, jump in, be part of the scene. Don't expect that someone else is going to make a space for you. Carve it out.
I feel that. Do the work and bring that sizzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now it's time for a 10-second dance party. Did you say a 10-second dance party?
10-second dance party.
As an outsider looking in, I must comment, Sin and Balla's partnership is a truly wonderful thing to witness firsthand. Behind the curtain, on stage, and in the crowd, both ladies remained calm and full of sisterly love throughout the night, which was directly reflected in the effectiveness and collaboration of the crew and the cast throughout the entire event. Let's see what kind of sizzling antics took place during the second set. crew on show night is a large part of what allows a show to sizzle. The Sin sisters have a delightful show family, which in turn has allowed them to create a dedicated audience community. I caught up with Szandora Lavey, the newest addition to the Sin sisters cast, in studio after the show to discuss her path as a performer and what led her to becoming a sister. I'm sitting here in studio with Santa Cruz's newest Sin sister, Miss Szandora Lavey. How are you, darling?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so happy to have you here, sitting down on this couch outside of the event to get your perspective on performance and burlesque and all of those things. I think the best way to start this interview is to ask you how you got into burlesque, what attracted you to the art form, and how long you've been in the biz. What's your path been like as a performer?
Well, I started hula hooping for a surf band in Las Vegas called the Swank Bastards in 2002. So I've been doing my thing since then. At first I didn't take any clothes off, and then we found out, oh, the more clothes that come off, the more money we make. So eventually I just incorporated burlesque and go-go together and started doing hula hoop routine with them, burlesquing all the time, like going on tour. We've gone everywhere together. I really love performing with the Swank Bastards. Performing with a live band there's nothing like it to me. And then I decided to move to LA and started doing more solo burlesque stuff there. And then moved back to Vegas, got with the Swank Bastards again, then moved to San Francisco, and that's really where I've been building my burlesque career. And being in my 30s, I didn't think that I would ever have another career. I felt like my prime had already happened, but now I see that I am in my prime in my 30s, so it's really cool. Well, girl, I would sure should say you are, based on your performance on stage at the Sin Sisters show just the other night. That was absolutely delightful, and I think that's a great segue to ask. I mean, you work with a band, you're a solo performer, extraordinary hoop artist, tons of fun to watch, so you do get around, perform all over the place at all different kinds of events, and you know, you just made this choice to become a part of this group. So now you're a troupe member, and for you, what's the difference there as a solo artist versus a troupe member, and what attracted you to joining the group to begin with? Well, I've just really loved those girls. They're amazing. Balla and Sin have been real with me from day one. Very sweet. You know, anything they could help me with, they do. So I just developed a relationship with them. I perform with them a lot with Hubba Hubba Review. So, you know, backstage you get really close with people. Yeah. And the thing I love about their group is that you can be an individual artist. It's not like they say, oh, this is what we expect from you, this show. You know, even though if they are a theme show, they still let you be an independent artist. And that's why it's easy for me to be a part of that group, because I have 100% control over my creativity. That's wonderful, and as I said before, the sisterhood is evident in the room and it excites the crowd. And I know that you've performed with them before, but this was just your first night as an actual member of the troupe. How did the crowd feel to you? I mean, I know they have a special situation there with their kind of audience community they've built up. Yeah, the crowd is awesome. Every time I've played there, I've, you know, gone over well, and I think that's one of the reasons that they asked me to be a part of their group. I just love their enthusiasm, and there's always the same people that come, but then there's always newbies like at your show. Totally. And it kind of changes their perspective. Either they really like coming to it, or maybe they don't feel comfortable and it's not their thing, but when they do like it, you'll see them repeat, and that's what I really like about those shows, is that they have repeat people that are really into the burlesque scene coming and enjoying the show. Well, it's true, as a performer on stage, you're feeding off the energy of the audience and giving it your all out there, and it only helps to have a crowd that's hooting and hollering and right there in the moment with you. That's the only way to be. Totally. Yeah. Totally. Szandora was an absolute delight to sit down with, and, along with her other sisters, illustrates a very important point perfectly. Being a genuine person who is easy and fun to work with is the most sizzling quality a performer can possess. Nobody wants to work with a meanie, and the connections we make in our community are only strengthened by a good attitude and passion for the art form.
let's take a final look at all of the sisters and learn a little bit more about what makes each of them sizzle. Well folks, that wraps up episode 5 of Sizzlevision. If you ever get the chance to check out the Sin Sisters show on the second Saturday of every month at the Catalyst Club in Santa Cruz, I promise it'll be worth the trip. Join me again next month as I head out to Las Vegas for the Beehoff Weekender, the largest fundraising event for the Burlesque Hall of Fame Museum every year. Until then, I'm Jay Siren. Sizzle on.
Take my clothes off! And then they... And you step off stage.